Hello everyone and welcome to the Library Kitchen here at the Gloucester County Public Library. I'm Chris, and today at the library we've got Tom Davidson. Tom is one of our Yum Yum Cookbook Club members, and Tom has been just itching to make some clam chowder.
New England style.
New England style. Now, wait a minute, Tom. We're in Gloucester, Virginia, and you know if we're in Gloucester, Virginia, it's a broth clam chowder,
Exactly.
Right? You know, even here at the library, we've got the 40th anniversary Guinea Jubilee cookbook that's got a whole chapter on clam chowder and clam fritters, and it's all broth. It's not cream.
Right. New England style basically is a cream-based chowder. Then you have your Manhattan style, which is basically broth and tomatoes. You have your Hatter style, which is the broth.
Right.
But they use the little neck clams down in the Hatter style.
That's right.
Now on the West Coast, you still have clam chowders. Now in Mexico, they actually add jalapenos to it.
Ooh, a little spicy.
Yeah.
Spice up that clam chowder.
So anyway, what we've done to start with is we've taken 2 of these cans of clams that I've purchased at Sam's Club. We drained them and took the broth, and Chris is going to add the potatoes that we diced earlier. Now it calls for 2 pounds of potatoes. You can add more or less depending on how you like your potatoes. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and start and put that in the broth.
And we drained our clams and put that in our
Yes,
stock
you
pot,
had
right?
to use it. You had to use the clam broth from the cans. Now sometimes I have more than I normally get out of here, but sometimes you have less. So when I have less, what I use to bump it up a little bit is chicken stock. Doesn't change the flavor of it because you're going to add other things to it to enhance the flavor. So once you add the clams to it, you're not going to see the taste of the chicken broth.
Okay. Well, I've put that on, and we'll cook those till fork tender, right?
Till fork tender.
Fork tender. All right.
Now what we're
going
going to do in the pan here, we're going to saute bacon. Now the recipe out of the cookbook that came from Faneuil Hall in Boston calls for salt pork. I think salt pork is not that tasty, so I use bacon, and I double the size bacon that it calls for. It calls for 8 ounces, and
There we go.
what I normally do is I use a whole pound of bacon and let this get rendered down. Now, after we render this down, we're going to add our other ingredients, which are going to be our celery and our onions.
Okay. So we're going to cook that for a couple minutes on medium-high heat.
Right.
Just to render that bacon.
Just to render that bacon until we get it enough to put the butter in with the celery and the onions.
Okay.
So, Faneuil Hall, where I got this cookbook, the recipe we're using is from the Union Oyster House. The Union Oyster House in Boston, Massachusetts, is the longest continuous restaurant in the United States.
Interesting.
They've had a restaurant there since the early 1800s. There's only been 3 owners of the Union Oyster House. Now, a lot of people might know John F. Kennedy. Well, the Kennedys used to go and have their special dinners upstairs to the Union Oyster House. But John Kennedy used to go there on Sunday mornings, bring his newspaper, and sit at a certain booth, read his paper, have his cup of coffee, and then after that, he'd have a bowl of clam chowder, and he'd go home. And if you go there today, they've got a little plaque there that says this is John F. Kennedy's booth.
All right. I'm going to have to check that out.
Oh, just a little history there. Just a little history.
Thank you. So we're going to take a couple minutes to render the bacon down. Our potatoes are boiling, and we'll be back. So it's been a few minutes now, Tom, and the bacon looks like it's getting kind of crispy there, right?
That's the way we want it, nice and crispy. We still got a little more sauteing to do with the onions and the celery, but right now I'm going to get you to dump the clams back into potato broth.
All right. So chopped clams into the potato broth.
We'll bring it back to a boil, then we'll cut it off.
All right.
While he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and dump in the onions.
Tom, I'm going to bring this to a boil. Is that correct?
Exactly.
All right.
Bring it back to a boil. Now we're going to add our celery. Calls for 2 stalks of celery, diced fine.
So onions, celery, bacon,
And we're going to add a little bit of butter here just a bit.
butter. I don't know what's not to love about this clam chowder.
My daughter looks forward to fall every year because she knows that's when I'm going to make the clam chowder.
Okay. Yeah, it was always a fall thing here with my grandfather. My grandfather always made clam chowder
Right.
here, and it was always something we looked forward to. You're just sauteing everything together in that bacon fat.
Bacon fat.
That's
Good.
flavor.
That's flavor. Who doesn't like bacon?
Who doesn't like anything sauteed in bacon?
Like they say on television, maybe we hope to have smell-o-vision.
Well, it does smell good. It smells wonderful.
Okay. Few more minutes on the onion and the celery to get it translucent.
Now, Tom, your family is from up north, right? Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was born in South Philly, but we moved out here with my dad being in the Navy. We hit 3 or 4 towns and ended up in Norfolk as his last duty station. But my wife is from the Boston area.
Oh, so she's from Boston.
She's from Boston. She parks the car.
All right. And she approves of this clam chowder too, right? This is her type of clam chowder.
She says this is better than anything she's tasted when she bought it up home.
Okay. All right.
But I think she's just buttered me up to cook.
Probably. You know, like my wife says, I'm the best restaurant in town.
Right. Yeah, her mom and dad live up there. She's got 3 siblings still live up there. 3 siblings live out of town. So there's 6 kids in the family.
So you really have to make a good clam chowder.
Oh, I do.
Or you'd have been gone a long time ago.
I'd have been booted out.
That is looking great, Tom.
Bacon's crisping up a little bit. Getting just about ready to add the butter.
So, and that's a whole stick of butter, right?
Whole stick of butter.
All right.
Once this comes in, we're going to add the flour to make our roux.
Now, see, that's something we don't do in our clam chowder here in Virginia. Right. We don't make a roux because it's more brothy, so we don't really use a lot of thickener.
Right. You would probably eliminate this part here from the butter and the flour. You probably eliminate it totally.
That's exactly right.
You'd use this part, add the clams to it, and you're done.
Sometimes you might add a little chicken stock.
A little chicken stock.
Broth, yep. Right. Exactly. So I've got you some flour here.
Okay.
And then we've also got a little salt, pepper, and a little Old Bay that you like to throw
I like a little Old Bay because I am in the South here, and little Old Bay is from the South.
Right.
They don't use it up in New England, and you're not going to find it in any cookbook in New England. But I like the flavor of Old Bay, and I add a little bit to it.
Perfect. Perfect. Layer in the flavors. I'll check on our potatoes.
All right. Get your bowl back.
Yep. Back up to a bowl. Everything's nice, a nice little simmer.
All right. Well, once she boils for another 5 minutes, you just cut it off.
Okay. 5 minutes. I'll cut it off.
All right. We've got the butter all down, ready to put the flour in. Now, depending on how thick you like it, you can add more flour or less flour. The recipe only calls for, I think, 2 tablespoons. Mm-hmm. But I like a little bit thicker thicker soup, chowder, and so I add more.
Okay, so you're adding right there is about a little over 3.5, 4 tablespoons.
Right now, we'll see how that thickens it up.
Okay. It's coming right along, Tom.
Yep.
I might have to really make this recipe at home this year.
Now, I'm going to add the Old Bay now.
Perfect.
You can already smell that Old Bay.
Can. I use a little Old Bay in my crab cakes.
I put it on corn on the cob.
Oh, yes. I've done that before as well.
I put it on cheesy grits.
Yeah, potato chips. I made homemade potato chips and made it.
All right. I'm going to add a little bit more flour.
All right.
Another tablespoon. That probably will be all we're going to need. We'll see how this comes out.
And all of these are the recipe that you've given us. If you don't like as much onion, you can leave a little bit out. If you want more potatoes in your chowder, you can add a little more potatoes. If you want more clams, less clams.
Exactly.
You know, a little more stock, a little brothier, you know, thinner.
I was told a long time ago that a recipe is a guideline to what you like to eat.
That's exactly right.
So, like I said, you don't have to use onions. You can use shallots. Shallot has a less oniony flavor.
Right.
So, Now she's sticking it up real good there. See how thick she's gotten? We got to get the taste of the flour out of there for it now.
So you're just cooking that for 3 or 4 minutes with that butter.
Yep. Because if you didn't cook the taste out of the flour, it would taste like flour.
Like flour. Wet flour.
What do you think, Chris? How does that look?
I think that's looking pretty good. I think we've been going for a few minutes now, and
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and turn the potatoes and the clams off and just
Okay.
let them sit. Now the next step will be to bring our pot of
Right.
clams and potatoes over,
Right.
and then we've got to get the heavy whipping cream and the half and half
Half
out
and
of the
half.
fridge.
Right.
All right.
Now there's a preference there also. If you like heavy whipping cream, use nothing but. If you like the half and half, just use half and half. If you don't want either one, just use milk.
Sure.
I mean, you know,
Exactly.
it's up to your preference, the flavor and the taste you're going to get out of it.
Perfect. All
And
right.
so if you want to go ahead and transfer this. And
All right. We'll be back in a few.
all right, now we're going to add back the roux to the clams and the potatoes that's been cooking in the broth. So Chris, if you want to put that over here. We're going to bring this back up to a boil, and we're going to stir constantly until it thickens up from the roux.
All right. You might want to adjust your temperature on the.
Yep.
That's a great looking chowder. It's great.
It'd be great right now without the cream.
Oh yeah, I could see where we could eat it without the cream. That would be great. So we're just bringing it up to boil again.
Yep. Put it on medium high. Going to constantly keep stirring it so the roux get thick.
Now, how many quarts do you think this makes of clam chowder, like what we've got here?
About six,
About
six and a half.
Okay. So it's enough for a good 6 to 8 people with
Yeah.
some leftovers, right?
Yeah. Because remember, you're still going to add almost 2 quarts of cream.
Yep. And that's why we're using also an 8-quart stock pot. So you might need something a little bigger than this.
Right.
You know. So, but this one is an 8-quart.
It's beginning to thicken up a little bit.
And this only takes a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I said, I don't make clam chowder that often. My father and my grandfather was really the clam chowder makers. And again, ours was brothy. So that was something that they really liked to do themselves. That was their thing, was the clam chowder.
I haven't tasted a clam chowder I haven't liked. I like the Manhattan. I like the Hatteras style. I like the Guinea style, you know, so.
Right. So that's a mom a little portion too. Well, Tom, after trying some of yours here in a little bit, I'm going to have to, next time I go on vacation up north, I'm going to have to stop into somewhere and get some clam chowder up there and kind of compare.
Hopefully you'll like mine better.
We'll see. I'm thinking I am. It smells great, folks. Great.
All right, you ready to pour that half
Sure.
and half in there?
So this is a quart of half and half.
Quart of half and half.
That's looking like Boston clam chowder.
Add about half of that whipping cream there.
So this is a cup of heavy whipping cream.
Right.
And this is really, you told me earlier, you add it as needed, right?
Right.
You don't have to.
That's good right now. Let's just leave it at that for right now. Bring this up back up to a boil.
Now, Tom, at what point do you normally put in salt and pepper? At the very end? You
Yeah,
taste it? And
you
then,
taste it. I mean, you know, we've got plenty of bacon in here, so I don't think we really need to add that much salt to it. But the pepper would add us a little taste to it.
Okay. And that's, everyone has a different preference on how much salt
Right.
and pepper to put in things. So.
In fact, if you want to sprinkle a little bit of pepper in here, it would be great.
So this is just coarse ground black pepper.
That's good.
And that was probably about a half a teaspoon. maybe
Yep.
A little bit more.
And if you're not a pepper fanatic, then leave it out.
Just leave it out.
Just
Sure.
leave it out.
Sure.
Like I said, you can add more Old Bay to it if you like. It's got a little bit of spice to it.
And if you want to add the Southwest flair, you add a diced jalapeno, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to go that bold.
Okay. A little pinch of cayenne.
Now the next day, if you have any left over, the next day this is going to get really thick.
Okay.
If you put it in your refrigerator. So you add a little bit of milk to it, or a little bit of clam juice to it, or a little bit of chicken stock to it.
Perfect.
But once you heat it back up, it'll thin back out again, and it tastes just like it did the day before.
Excellent. And that's all you're doing now is just making everything is incorporated.
Everything is incorporated.
And everything is just thickening up right now.
There's nothing else that we need to add to it.
Okay.
Except at the end when we have it, we use oyster crackers.
Oyster crackers. Perfect. Oyster crackers for our clam chowder.
Right.
Or saltines.
Saltine crackers. A lot of people use this as plain old saltines. So.
I can see we're starting to get a little bit of a boil going
Yep.
now. I'll tell you, this I know this is going to taste phenomenal. I will tell you, this is a pretty easy recipe to make.
Very
It's not
easy.
hard. Simple ingredients, and it's smelling great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to taste it.
I mean, just in that book alone, I think there's 2 other recipes for clam chowder, and they're all different.
Right. And even in our Guinea Jubilee cookbook that we have here at the library, there's like 6 recipes, and they're all the broth style, but they're all just a little variation on the amount of the ingredients that you use.
Right.
One uses a little more bacon than the other, more clams, more chicken stock, etc.
I mean, Rhode Island has their own little twist to it. Maryland has their twist to it. Like I said, the West Coast has their twist because they have a different type of clam than we have out here.
Right.
So, you know.
They make a vegetarian clam chowder. You know what they say? A watched pot never boils. Now I'm just watching the pot. I'm ready to eat.
We can come back if you want.
We'll do that. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We'll go get our bowls and spoons.
Okay, the chowder is thickened up. We're going to put some in a bowl here.
Please, thank you. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Look at the butter floating on top of it.
Well, it smells great. Put a couple little oyster crackers in the top of this. Little bits of bacon. Cheers.
Cheers.
This is great.
Thank
you so much.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it.
This is great. Folks, you should really try this recipe. This is a great clam chowder.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Folks, please remember to like and subscribe to the Gloucester County YouTube channel so that you will make sure that you don't miss any of our upcoming recipes or demonstrations like Tom just gave. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Well, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Enjoy.